In fact, sometimes you are even forced to try to think maybe the people with certificate, the people with the diplomas are better off. This is clearly shown from the results that we've been receiving in Standard 8 and Form 4. So basically we need a total overhaul, because we don't need the exam-oriented employee or people in our country. We need people who are made with the capacity, the capability to be instilled in our students. And this also comes from the teaching fraternity, the system. The system really has a problem. I think people are targeting or competing with the time. It is January, we have opened the school, we shall close in March. Really not going back and seeing what the child has gained. And I think we need a total overhaul in education system.
Cynthia, the MP has mentioned something very critical, that it could go back to the teachers. Teachers have been complaining, or this or the other, but they are surely class 3, class 1. This is directly, it directly has something to do with the teachers.
I wouldn't put the whole blame on teachers. You need to look at all the stakeholders in the education sector. And when you start talking about a total overhaul, then you bring into question what Dr. Zani has just said. Do you go back to 844, go back to the old system of the other system that we had older, where we have the O levels and the A levels? Or are we going to be straddling back and forth? You cannot put the whole blame on teachers. But I think it is time for us to begin to have this conversation, and it's going to be a difficult conversation, because all stakeholders need to be on board, because civil society organizations have done these studies, and as Dr. Zani has said, that nothing has changed over the past 10 years. I've had the opportunity to go to so many education days in different counties, and I've seen what civil society is trying to do. I mean, they come up with this study, and they do say our standard 7 could not even write their names, or standard 8. It's just a wonder how they managed to pass the exam, or if they just cram for that exam. But we're trying to develop the entire person, to get a wholesome person who's going to be able to be a citizen who can really benefit this country, so that we begin to move forward. And so the education sector really does need, maybe not a total overhaul for the entire sector, but doing it piecemeal.
Let me clarify. I didn't mean teachers, I said teaching.
The teaching.
And this, I was bringing the issue of the system, that we open in January, we shall close in April, and the people are just looking forward to complete the system. The syllabus has issues. But let me point out something which I have possibly not quantified as a researcher, but I've seen it. We have so many children with the learning disability. In Kenya, this hasn't come on board. There are many teachers in the education system who may really be struggling with this in most of our schools. And let me just mention here that 2014, I amended the Person with the Disability Act of 2003, and one of the issues I was looking at, mainly I was looking at the sign language. That's why you are hearing news with the sign language interpreters. That's my law. But I had there are other issues that I came out with. I pointed out
we need to assess the pupils even before they join primary school, to know their abilities before we subject them to this curriculum.
That is one of the issues, but basically what I was trying to bring out from this bill is that the education system need to have teachers and post them in public schools with special training, so that a teacher who has capacity in special training will go along with a child in standard 1, standard 2, and the teacher will see this is not just a child who is not catching the education. There is some learning disability, because the parents time and again are also not aware.
To explore other systems, like maybe the Montessori kind of system, or how learning with maybe just playing on with tools, to see how the West is doing it, because they don't really start like telling the child how to hold the pen and to write the alphabets and the numbers, and in standard 1 to start doing arithmetics and English as a subject, but in a playing environment, in a comfortable environment, to begin to see how each child can develop that skill, and not to just label a child disabled just because they're not catching up with arithmetics on the go.
I think we need to be able to match abilities, and as a country begin to ask ourselves, what expertise do we need, so that we are matching the abilities and the expertise. And I think what is happening now in the education sector might help us to get there, and it happened for many years. TVET is very, very critical.
Yeah.
But everybody is aiming for mainstream, white collar, for example. It doesn't work like that. In anything, there's the normal distribution. We are all very differently distributed with different skills. Even skills are evenly distributed. So we need to be able to find out where is the niche. Not all of us are doctors, and not all of us are lawyers. So let's be able to encourage that person who's going to be a carpenter, who's going to be a plumber, because we need them as well. And begin to be able to train them, and begin to look at the way we do our wage system, so that that person also is able to earn a wage and move away from the historical bit about how education came in and, you know, blue collar was looked down, and change.
And maybe just let polytechnics be polytechnics and not elevate them.
Of course, one of the major things that are happening this year in terms of the education reforms is a change in curriculum. And discussions are already underway. Probably we could just be seeing the end of 844 anytime soon. Probably that will help in correcting some of these anomalies. But although I do understand what you're saying is not just a system change in terms of the years you spend in school, but in how you approach education as well. Let's now take a look at another headline, and this has to do with the Cabinet Secretary for Sports, Hassan Wario. Of course, immediately after the Rio Olympics, it was very shameful, and he came out very tough, defending his position and shifting blame to the other officers, especially the National Olympics Committee. But now we see that the DPP has actually come back and said now the minister and the PS should actually be charged in court.
If president is anything to go by, then we need to follow that course, because we've seen other CESs step aside because an issue came up in their ministries, and really the buck stops with the head of that sector or that industry.
Do you think the CS should wait until he's taken to court before he steps aside? Shouldn't he just say, okay, fine, the DPP has recommended, probably it's time to step aside?
Matters of corruption in this country, I really would not like to comment, because I have seen a paper this morning, because we know the Waiguru saga and the length it took. However, let me comment here categorically that this was the most shameful event or activities in our country. Considering our youth, we are trying to build their talents. Sports is their main activity. They really have not so much in this country, and this was practically denied to them as the world was watching. So really I would commend the DPP if they are taking this direction, and any other department on that line would take the necessary step. But personally, I have just seen the headline, and I would like it to be handled professionally, and so that we can also teach the other government officials, and also we can be able to separate the presidency, because many time and again people have tried to say Jubilee government with the corruption. We can be able to separate the two, that this is the presidency,
again,
this is the head, this is the minister.
It's the same principle.
And if the DPP take the mantle on the hand and showcase, and this will be a very good example. And
even for Jubilee, now that you mentioned Jubilee, surely once the DPP comes out clearly, and it's he has the authority to actually go ahead and prosecute. Once the DPP comes out, it's not a simple headline by a journalist. This comes from a point of authority. Shouldn't even the Jubilee administration just bite the bullet and say, okay, fine, once the DPP says it, kindly step aside?
We have seen many headlines, you know. We have seen many headlines going up and down. We really know the Waiguru case.
As far as you're concerned, he should wait until he's taken to court?
I will not say. What I'm saying is that I want to limit myself from commenting, but if the DPP is taking that direction, I want to commend him, and I want to say that he completes the story.
Senator.
I don't think we want to be sensational in this country, but I think definitely we want to have accountability in our systems. And I'll start by saying, if you have 18 CSs, as the Constitution allows us to have, and each of these is in charge of a docket and runs that docket very, very well, so they know what is happening right from the top to the bottom. The same system needs to be cascaded to the counties. So you have the county governor. The county governor can't come and say, oh, excuse me, you know, I'm not the CEO. I'm not accountable. The buck finally stops with you. One way or another, you might not be the one directly culpable, but you are the one in charge, and you need to be able to know what is going on. Now, we've seen this sort of sense. How far it will go really is a question of any Kenyan will guess. We're very sensational. We start off very hyped up, and somewhere things fizzle because of corruption at the end of the day. But I know many things that seem to be sensationalized end up across a party line. But I always tell Kenyans, look at the viability. Was 791 billion lost? can it not be accounted for? Is it that it cannot be accounted for? If this money had been put into the sector, what would it have been able to do? So when a regime is talking about we have done this and we've done the other, let me tell you something. Once a regime has done something, Kenyans will feel it. They might not be able to quantify, they might not be able to say so much was used in education, but they will be able to tell you the educational system has improved. They will be able to tell you, I think now health, if I talk about 4 years ago, I think health has improved, or it has not been improved. It's not really perception, because it's a trickle-down effect. And if this works, it works. Now we're coming up with a case again with Olympics. We saw what happened, and you know, this has put us in disrepute, especially considering the efforts that we've put in Kenya in this line. So I think it's a wait and see.
Yes.
I think our systems have always been challenged, including the new system of IEBC that we're putting in.
And this is one thing that the president in his New Year address to the nation actually pointed to. He said, we will take action, and of all the things that he could have mentioned, he mentioned this particular Rio fiasco, and he said this one we will definitely take action against those found culpable.
Yeah, but we have to take it to the tail end. We have to actually, you know, take it to the tail end. Because I think when you do that, you send a message. Look at what happened, for example, in China. Look at what has happened in Sierra Leone. Look at what happened in Senegal. And more importantly, the tiger, the Asian tiger countries, when they started off and they had a resolve to fight corruption, it works. Yes, because within a very short time, you realize you're culpable and you will face the music.
And it was also a matter of perception. Because don't you think the Jubilee administration could be missing an opportunity here? Because you've been presented with such a glaring accusation. The DPP says, I'm taking this person to court. Surely, isn't this an opportunity for Jubilee, the president saying, okay, fine, if you're being taken to court, then I'll have nothing to do with you for now?
I just want us to have sequences of events, because this headline has come. Possibly the DPP has communicated with the president, and here I'm speaking as Wanjiku, a representative of Nyandarua people. Yes. And I want to be calculative, because we have seen these matters come and they rise and they go to the mountain, and you think heaven is happening, and finally nothing happens. That's why Zani says, I wait and see. But more importantly, I would like, if a case like this has reached that level, we find the final result so that we close that chapter. And one time there was a debate in the House, and myself and Honorable Kangata, though we were only two, had really recommended the Chinese way, because the issue of corruption in this country is really a monster that is far from ending. And we only needed to sacrifice 1 or 2 people. And the rest of the people will see corruption and they run away, because they know they'll be meeting their maker in a very awkward manner. But having said, in fact, finally that may be the way. This time you are trying Wabukala possibly as the very last resort, being a man of God, who possibly will call upon divine intervention. But after I think we need to go the China way, and I think, but most importantly, in this country we have a problem of ethnicity, originality, regional. You will find something like this is there on the table, the proof is there. Then one morning you will wake up, and me and Zani will say the coast is affected, and this is our person, and this is our community, and no one really steals for the community. So this is also a challenge.
When media highlights an issue, then it's upon the institutions, the relevant institution, to take on the issue and actually carry it on to its logical conclusions. The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, the DPP, I think when the president said he's going to be doing something about it, we are seeing something being done about it. Yeah, when the DPP intervened.
Well, we, according to what we've seen previously in terms of court processes such as this, it just means that Hassan Oyo, if at all he does not step aside before he's taken to court, he could just be a CS until next elections. Anyway, let's move on to other stories now. And of course, yesterday something happened in Parliament. Wabukala, we've mentioned him, is now just awaiting appointment as the EACC chairperson. What does that make you feel? Are you more hopeful that we will now probably be able to fight corruption?
Corruption is not about people. The problems we have in Kenya are not about people. They're about institutions. And I think this has been said and emphasized so many times. We're just not getting it right. You know, when Obama came, that was one of the biggest messages he gave. He talked about institutions and he talked about gender. Those were the 2 takeaways for me. but it's about institutions. And I had the debate at National Assembly yesterday, and this came out. The Secretariat is the same Secretariat. Yes. You know, what does it imply? And I heard and I've known about the accolades for Abukala. He's been a man of God. But at the end of the day, when we have a system that doesn't facilitate, it really creates even a situation for the person who is there, because all eyes move to that person. So he's going to be on the tough seat for a long time. There are many cases that are already pending there that need to be handled. But the feeling of most Kenyans is that, you know, cases go there and no longer have they reached there. The fees are low.
People are actually saying that this new job has the potential of actually tainting his image.
Because people say, you know, it's not going to be about prayers. It's going to be, yes, about prayers and a lot more. But I think if we have institutional reforms, and it touches again with what we've been talking about, because once you touch institutional reforms and you touch with corruption, the message is very clear. You know, this is the consequence. Kenyans don't want consequences for anything when they know they're personally culpable for it, and that will change.
I think corruption will not be really upon one man. It is more of us, because what we look at today is more of a cultural ideology. Today, if I steal 1 billion and I want to be taken to the EACC, I will rally the border and women in Nairobi, and they'll go singing.
Yes.
This is terrible message. This is terrible message. And the next day I go to my county, the people will tell me, go for the governorship, go for the MP. In fact, there was one person who stole from an M-Pesa somewhere, and he was told, go for an MCA. So somehow we have really a challenge, and it is becoming like a culture. And if we really want to face corruption, we need to help Abukala and the team. And it is upon all of us. It is upon all of us. And that's why I'm saying, one time, you may need to believe me and Honorable Kangata.
Yes, but
so maybe you need
just
to
having Abukala there, does it make you feel any different?
I will say the image,
just the image
first, will bring, of course, image is also everything we know. It brings perception and all that. But I feel, because he's a man of God, and clearly we have seen that corruption has really reached a point until we are all wondering. I would say we will wait for divine intervention, and I feel
well, divine intervention has definitely arrived at
I am telling you,
and I do have my reservations about that.
I'm telling you, if the team will respect his age and his career path and all that, and they joined together, and us Kenyans also give support. After all, this is our country. We really cannot raise hands and say, oh, corruption has sat on us and we will do nothing. We have to keep on trying.
I do have reservations because we do have history of the relationship between church and state. Once upon a time, the state called upon the church to head a commission, and they were to go around the country to inquire and to find out about devil worship. And a huge report came out, and as usual, it was shelved. And this, I see, is a tactic that Jubilee government is going to use once I see a lack of seriousness. I do congratulate Abukala for being appointed the chair, and I, of course, like any other Kenyan, he does have his respect and accolades. But is the Jubilee government serious about this, or are we going back to that place where church and state again are working in a place where the state really doesn't take the church very seriously? And when the church, I say church because he's being drawn from the church fraternity, and I see that the church has been given an assignment, and call upon divine intervention seriously, or do the Jubilee people really need to lobby you and Kangata, get more on your side, who are going to go?
Let me make a correction. We really cannot see Jubilee as not serious. Honestly, we have to be honest with ourselves, and matters of corruption is upon every Kenyan. You go to the salon, you have made your hair, and the hairdresser you have paid is also waiting for some tip. And like the American system where the tip is officially receipted.
Yeah, but you know, we can't blame each other forever.
So we really cannot say Jubilee government. It is upon us as leaders, not from Jubilee, not from CORD.
It is the incumbent government that is supposed to be addressing
the
corruption.
job was advertised. No one really wanted to take this job. So if Wabukala has come, first you have to congratulate him because he has come on the board knowing what is ahead of him.
Is it a job
he has
you
really come on this job knowing what is ahead of him.
No, you see, this is incumbent.
So we can give him time.
This is an indicator, and it's not a compliment for the Jubilee government. When a position like this, people don't want to take it. It's saying that there's something wrong somewhere, and we can't say all Kenyans are corrupt. Kenyans are corrupt because systems allow them to be corrupt. You remember when we had the changes, and especially in 2008, and people were really stopping matatus, wanting people to be arrested. There was that forge because people have realized, and studies have shown clearly, that there's a correlation between corruption and development. We are going nowhere as a country if we are corrupt. All the money that is being pilferaged out is the money that should assist in all the various sectors. So as long as we don't get that right, we'll not get anything right. We won't get it right.
I think we really cannot conclude that Jubilee should be worried. Kenyans should be worried. And honestly, we have seen the corruption at the county government. In the county government, we have Jubilee governors and we have CORD governors. So really, we cannot put it as a Jubilee affair. Me, I would say Jubilee has tried, and even if this job, no one really wanted to take it until Wabukala from the church came and said the country is ailing. As a man of God, I will attempt. I think we need to support him. I think we need, as a country, to be hopeful, and I think we have to keep on trying.
Wow, this debate, this is a heated debate. When it comes to corruption, I know. I don't know. Well, all we can say is congratulations to Archbishop Eliud Wabukala. We hope something will change. We just hope some of the plates.
But you're so skeptical, even as you say it.
It's because the headlines have never changed for years, and because all we do right here on this panel is look at the headlines. Yes, we do not create them. We look at the headlines as they come. And corruption is one problem that headline after headline, it has that effect of hopelessness. That's what I've seen even on all my panelists. Every time we discuss corruption, the last effect is hopelessness. But anyway, let's hope there will be some hope with a political change. And now we want to discuss some politics, but that after the break.